We are here to talk about the upcoming book, Lockup, Professional Wrestling in Our World, with lawyer, author, Raymond Lopez. Ray, how are you doing today?
Hey guys, great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
We're very excited to have you here. We're very excited about the book. But before we get to talking about the book, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up a fan? Who got you into wrestling?
Well, I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. I've been a wrestling fan since, I can't remember. Back in the day, in the early 90s, I had the wrestling sheets, the little monitos, all that jazz. And I really remember my first wrestling match. It's kind of a sad story. My grandfather was about to pass away, and my birthday was like right around that period of time. So instead of having a birthday party, my parents didn't want to do that. All the family members were just not in the mood. Everybody was already kind of in the mourning phase. But they didn't want my birthday to pass without any acknowledgement, so to speak. So they said, well, WWE is coming into town. And I think it was like 2 days after my birthday. It's like, well, what if we get you tickets and we all go to watch the WWE show? Fantastic. So I was sold 100%. I was like, oh yeah, this is 10 times better than a birthday party with some cake. I've been a fan since growing up and, ever since.
As you're telling that story, for some reason, you made me think of me, like when I was watching wrestling and when I got into it. And I never really thought about it at the time, but I think wrestling was just that escape for me. And it sounds like maybe for you, everything you were going through at that time. What are some specific instances or wrestlers you remember that you were really, really hooked on in that era?
Well, I remember the Macho Man. I was a big Macho Man fan. Of course, Hogan as well. I remember when Earthquake and the Snake, that was devastating. And so was when Macho Man, and I was a little kid at the time, when he got bit by Jake Snake. That was like almost traumatizing. But yeah, I was a huge Macho fan and a Hogan fan. I guess those were my guys growing up.
That's awesome. It sounds like you're in that same era with us where it was like 80s wrestling, 90s wrestling. Now you became a lawyer. You're now working on being an author. Have you always been a wrestling fan through that whole time, or did you ever take any time off?
Sure. I suppose when I was in law school, especially that first year, was kind of like you're kind of doing it almost 24/7. If you're not in class, you're studying afterwards. And if you're not doing that, you're like social events, networking with your peers and all that jazz. So for that, like, first couple of years of law school, I kind of had to take a break from it just because I was just too busy. But, when I did eventually become a lawyer and pass on and had more free time down the road, I kind of went back and rewatched and caught up on what I had missed for those past years. But yeah, unfortunately, there's been a period of time when I was just working from, sun up to sundown and didn't have time for pretty much anything else, really.